usted. Good morning, members. Just an apology. The, I know the chair has traveled last night to Brussels, so we have just a connectivity challenge. We're just trying to resolve it, and hopefully we should be communicating with you in the next 5 minutes. Thanks.
Andre,
In fact, I'm cutting you off now.
Andre,
Mr. Gama, I can hear you.
yeah, can I make a suggestion?
We can, Chair. Yes, you may.
Can I make a suggestion that the meeting yeah, I'm saying, can I make a suggestion that the meeting appoints a chairman?
Okay, Chair. Okay.
And
Shall I do this, Mr. Shall I do this,
Yeah.
Mr. Gama, just to make sure that we proceed in the correct way? We are
Yeah.
still struggling, just to give you an update, we're still struggling to connect with the chairperson. I was going to propose that in terms of the rules, we Rule 159 of the National Assembly rules, we nominate a person to be acting chairperson until the chair returns, if that will be in order with the committee.
Yes, that's what I'd like to propose.
So in terms of the rules,
and if Dr. Kigaba is there, I'd like to nominate him, and if we have a seconder, and then we can just proceed until the chairman arrives.
no problem.
I second the proposal.
Okay, let me just make sure. Mr. Gama proposed that to nominate Dr. Kigaba as acting chairperson. Do we have a seconder for that? Ms. Motsikatsi?
Yes.
Are there any other proposals for position of acting chair in the interim? There being no other proposals for position of acting chair, I duly declare Dr. Kigaba as duly elected acting chairperson until the return of the chairperson. Dr. Gama, forward something you via you may take the chair, Dr. Kigaba.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, welcome. I must apologize on behalf of the chair for the delay. We are supposed today to consider officially formally the BRR report. And that is according to the procedural note. The agenda is opening and welcome. I don't think we will waste time. You are all welcome. We will then receive apologies. We will adopt the agenda, formal consideration of the BRR report, the BRRR, and then we will receive a briefing on the committee bill process, and then we will consider the minutes of the previous meeting. With your permission, honorable members, do we have a mover and seconder for the adoption of the agenda?
I move, Chair. Mr. Chance here.
I second, Chair. Honorable Mdluli here.
Honorable Mdluli and Honorable Chance, thank you very much.
Chair, my apologies to interrupt. Mr. Langa raised his hand, Chair, so I don't know if it's in connection.
Mr. Langa, Honorable Langa.
Oh, no, apologies. Must be a legacy hand while there was still a proposal by Mr. Gama. Sorry.
Thank you. Can we then move to the adoption, to the apologies?
The Chair is just the apology from the Chair who's struggling to link up, Chair. At the moment, I have no other apologies, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then we will then proceed to the formal consideration of the BRRR.
Thank you, Chair. Shall we flag, Chair? If I may through you, Chair.
Yes, please.
Chair, we've requested members to submit concluding remarks we received from the African National Congress as well as the Democratic Alliance. Will it be in order for us to flag the concluding remarks for the committee's consideration, Chair, and we take the committee through that, if that's in order?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, you will see on top, we will see ANC in black, DA in green, and where the Secretariat combine, it will be captured in green. So I'll start with the first proposal, Chair, and I'll read it, Chair. The committee noted with great concern that the DTIC's final appropriation declined by 10.3% from 10.7 billion in the 2023-24 financial year to 9.6 billion in the 24-25 financial year due to National Treasury's fiscal consolidation and expenditure measures. This reduction directly hampered the DTIC's policy space to pursue aggressively industrialization, localization, and transformation programs. While
Recording in
the
progress.
committee observed that this reduction partly explained much of DTIC's underperformance, it was concerned that even with the reduced final appropriation, the DTIC's underspending increased by 13% from 151 million in 2023-24 to 109.8 million in the 24-25 financial year, highlighting the DTIC's reduced inefficiency in converting expenditure into outputs. She will stop there because there's not any member to comment.
Are there any comments, honorable members?
There's no hands, Chair.
No hand. We can continue.
Chair, we received this proposal from the Democratic Alliance. The budget review and recommendation report reflects commendable delivery in parts of the DTIC's portfolio, including a clean audit for the department and measurable performance in several sectors and incentive programs. However, it also highlights systemic governance and delivery risks that require urgent and assertive parliamentary oversight. While the positive audit outcomes at department level are acknowledged, there remain persistent institutional weaknesses across key entities and programs that threaten the integrity, credibility, and developmental impact of public spending.
Do we have any comment on the DA's proposal? It seems straightforward. There being no hand, I think it's accepted.
We move to the next point, Chair. For the 24-25 financial year, the committee noted that the DTIC and most of its entities experienced notable performance regressions relative to the previous financial year. The DTIC and 13 of its 17 audited entities achieved clean audit outcomes and thus demonstrated strong compliance with the PFMA and National Treasury prescripts. But this culture of compliance did not yield measurable results or tangible service delivery outcomes in industrialization, transformation, and job creation. Further, the DTIC's overall performance declined for the 2024-25 financial year despite new full budget expenditure. This indicated persistent implementation challenges within the DTIC, especially in converting budget expenditure into measurable economic and developmental outcomes. The committee was concerned that the decline in targets achievement, even after the revision of the DTIC's app in 2024, pointed to growing deeper governance capacity constraints and accountability limitations across portfolio. Chair, you will see the green. We propose combining the two proposals from the ANC and the DA into what we put here for consideration, Chair. The budget review and recommendation report reflects commendable delivery in parts of the DTIC's portfolio, including a clean audit for the DTIC and measurable performance in several sectors and incentive programs. The committee also noted that only 5 of the 17 audited entities have achieved over 85% of their performance targets, and 13 of these entities had obtained clean audits. While the poor performance was partially attributable to the revision of targets in November 2024, it may also highlight systemic governance and delivery risks that requires urgent and assertive parliamentary oversight. While the positive audit outcomes at departmental level are acknowledged, there remain persistent institutional weaknesses across key entities and programs that threaten the integrity, credibility, and developmental impact of public spending. Chair, we combine the ANC and DA's proposals, Chair, into the Green proposal, Chair, for the committee to consider.
We are taking hands. Honorable Chance seems to approve of the consolidated paragraph. I don't see any other hands on the platform.
No other hands, Chair, so we can proceed, Chair, through you.
Yes.
3, in this regard, the committee welcomed the DTI's intensified oversight efforts over its entities, including the introduction of monthly entity reporting, the review of governance structures, and performances alignment between chief executive officers and departmental targets. These interventions are expected to improve accountability and enhance governance practices across the portfolio.
I don't see any hands. You may proceed.
The committee noted with great concern that the DTIC's most strategic programs, particularly Program 4, sectors, and Program 6, incentives, achieve only 29% of the planned targets despite 99.3% budget utilization. This underperformance, flagged by the AG, reinforced a persistent near full budget expenditure, poor outcomes paradox, which contradicted the DTIC's mandate as a catalyst for inclusive growth, reindustrialization, and structural transformation.
There is no hand. You may proceed.
While the committee welcomed the alignment of DTIC's revised 24-25 annual performance plan with the national priorities of the medium-term development plan for 2024 to 2029, it stressed that this alignment remained visible in language rather than operational in practice, implying that there was a disjuncture between the government's national priorities and the DTIC's performance.
I see no hand. You may proceed.
The committee noted with concern the recurring governance, compliance, and system weaknesses across several entities under the DTIC portfolio. Key issues included delayed financial reporting at SABS, procurement and grant management irregularities at the NLC, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure coupled with system challenges at the NCR. These key issues, the committee observed, eroded public trust and undermined the integrity of public finances.
I see no hands again. I think it's you may proceed.
Notwithstanding the measures, Margo, are we combining anything here, Margo? Is it green? Margo?
There isn't any green.
Okay. Chair, notwithstanding the corrective measures and oversight interventions that had been initiated, the committee stressed that timely disaster recovery of ICT systems, strengthened ICT and financial controls, and improved internal audit capacity would be critical to restore institutional integrity and public confidence, particularly at the SABS.
Okay, there is no hand. You may proceed.
Chair, this is a proposal that was submitted by the Democratic Alliance. A critical concern relates to the South African Bureau of Standards, where the cyber attack and subsequent systems failure have resulted in the non-submission of financial statements and delayed auditing processes. This represents a serious governance and reputational risk that undermines confidence in South Africa's standards and quality assurance infrastructure. The absence of clearly defined time-bound remediation plan and sufficient consequent management measures raises questions around organizational preparedness, oversight capability, and accountability. It's essential that Parliament require firm deadlines, independent cybersecurity assurances, assurance and explicit consequences for any further non-compliance. Chair, Margot, is this a combine of the two? Margot?
Yes, I think the second SABS matters we didn't disagree.
Okay. Now they we combine. Chair, we combine the two chains and we capture it at below in green. I'll read it. The committee is concerned about the impact of cyber attack and subsequent systems failure at SABS, which resulted in its inability to submit its financial statements for auditing by the legislated deadline. This represents a serious governance failure affecting SABS' reputation, which undermines business confidence in South Africa's standards and quality assurance infrastructure. The committee urged that the DTIC to ensure that SABS develop a clearly defined time-bound remediation plan and implements appropriate consequence management measures to ensure organizational preparedness and accountability. The committee requires that SABS provide it with 1, firm deadlines to address system failures, 2, an assurance that an independent cybersecurity assessment was conducted. In addition, that the DTIC and the SABS board should undertake that explicit consequent measures would be implemented for any further non-compliance with auditing requirements. We combine the two, Chair, for the committee's consideration.
Thank you. Are there any hands on the combined paragraph? So what does it mean? Does this mean that the preceding paragraph in blue will follow?
Yeah, the preceding paragraph from the ANC, sorry to interrupt, Chair, of the ANC and the DA was put together as one thing.
Honorable Chance.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to get clarity from the Secretariat. Is there another paragraph further on that deals with the other conclusion that we put in regarding the TSU investigation?
That will be captured further down, Mr. Chance.
I see. Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
Okay. There being no other hand, I take it that the combined paragraph is accepted. You may proceed.
Chair, then we have a submission from the Democratic Alliance. Ongoing governance and procurement concerns at the National Lotteries Commission, together with unresolved historic irregularities subject to SIU investigations, points to continued weaknesses in oversight across the institution. The AG's limited scope regarding prior year irregularities leave accountability gaps that must be addressed. Parliament must insist on transparent reporting on all forensic and SIU matters, ensure consequent management where wrongdoing is established, and prioritize the recovery of public funds. Process for making the reparation payments to former and current staff has taken over a year and is still not finalized, placing a heavy burden on the affected individuals whose lives have been badly affected. The committee urged the board to finalize this matter without delay.
Any?
No hands from my side, Chair. I don't see any hands.
Yes, you may proceed.
Notwithstanding the existence of audit action plans, ineffective, inconsistent implementation, and recurrences of findings at certain entities implied deficiencies in consequent management. The committee remained concerned over the continuation of ineffective monitoring, oversight, and accountability mechanisms across several DTIC entities. It welcomed the establishment of enhanced oversight measures within the DTIC, including the revitalization of the CFO Forum to promote best practices.
There are no hands.
The committee, I'll proceed, Chair. The committee further encouraged the DTIC and the identified entities to ensure full implementation of audit recommendations, prioritize accountability, and demonstrate measurable progress by the next reporting period.
I think you may proceed.
Persistent vacancies, particularly at senior management and foreign economic officer levels, together with prolonged acting appointments, in the view of the committee, continue to undermine leadership stability, institutional performance, and effective oversight within the DTIC and its entities. Mr. Chance raised one, Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, I just think on a point of correction, I think the term is foreign economic representatives, not foreign economic officers.
We'll verify, Chair, and we'll correct as required, yeah.
Okay. You may proceed.
While the DTIC has committed to finalizing the various recruitment processes, the committee emphasized the urgency of filling critical posts. Failure to do so would continue to compromise strategic continuity, weaken accountability, and delay the implementation of key policy program priorities.
Yes, you may proceed. There is no hand.
The committee noted that despite the progress in strengthening legislative instruments, is this a combination, Margot? Just see if there's a green at the bottom.
I don't think we did a green, but
Okay.
it's either or, I think, or a combination.
Yes, yeah. So that this is for the committee to determine which one would be better. The committee note that despite the progress in strengthening legislative instruments such as the Public Audit Amendment Act, the persistent absence of consequences for repeated non-compliance, audit qualification, and irregular and fruitless and wasteful expenditure at certain entities remain a concern. It welcomed the Auditor General's use of its power under the amended Act, such as the issuance of certificates of debt, which was currently being considered for extension to national entities where no corrective action has been taken. And then we have the proposal from the Democratic Alliance, similar to that, Chair. The report highlights inconsistent consequent management and slow utilization of the Public Audit Act's remedial powers, including the absence of certificates of debt for the portfolio entities despite material findings. This creates an environment where accountability is weak and public confidence eroded. The department and entities must act decisively where irregularities arise, demonstrate a clear commitment to enforcing accountability mechanisms, and provide transparent, time-bound reporting to Parliament. Future budget support should be directly linked to verifiable remedial actions and measurable outcomes. It's two submissions by the ANC and the Democratic Alliance, which is similar in nature, Chair, for the committee's consideration.
Were you not able to suggest a combined paragraph?
Margot, Margot, can you speak to that? Because we had a chat about it.
Chair, I think it was a bit difficult at the time because they're slightly divergent. The one, and I think, yes, I think that you need to read 13 as well, Andre, because I think that adds to what the ANC was saying.
Okay. 13 will be part of that. The committee further noted that although within the DTIC portfolio no certificates of debt had been issued, it urged the DTIC to ensure that the consequent management is applied consistently and that accountability for financial misconduct is both visible and effective across all entities within the portfolio. I think as Mark indicated, there are parts which are similar, then there's a divergent part. Maybe show the divergent part in the Democratic Alliance thingy, Margot? Margot?
I think the one suggestion from the Democratic Alliance would be that future budget support should be directly linked to verifiable remedial action. Yeah, and I think the other concern we had was that the way it was worded in terms of the first sentence, it almost implied that the certificates of debt should be applied almost immediately, despite there being a process. So I'm not sure if we misread that.
Honorable Chance and Honorable Mdluli, can you provide clarity on the interpretation of the first sentence on paragraph 4?
I'm going to ask Honourable Mdluli because that was his paragraph.
Okay. Honorable Mdluli.
Yes, Chair. So this is about the consequence management, and so I want to stress that out. That it should be more consistent. So that was the whole gist of that first line of paragraph 4. That it is a consistent across board.
Chair, through you, Chair, if I may, Chair.
Yes.
If we Margo just go up because Margo go up a little bit up to include, I want to see the ANC's. Yeah. So what the ANC has written would be the correct interpretation, one would say. So would that not cover, Mr. Mdluli, your concern that it welcome the AG's issue with of powers?
Yes.
Okay. So then, if we can, then that matter is resolved regarding that issue, Margo. Then the committee needs to make a decision whether go down, Margo, about the future budget support should be directly linked to verifiable remedial actions, and whether the committee would be in order with that particular matter, Chair. And maybe a member can explain the rationale for Mr. Chance, Chair, raise his hands.
Mr. Chance.
Yeah, I do think that is important because essentially it's consequence management. If there's persistent problems with the entities, irregularities, there needs to be some sanction. I think this is what is implied in this sentence. In other words, budget support from the committee should be linked, as it says here, to verifiable remedial action. There must be indications that remedial action has been taken before the committee should just rubber stamp a budget. I think that's what Mr. Mdluli was saying.
Yes, that's spot on.
I guess the question is how do we do that?
I think that what I would suggest, Chair, is that the department or the entity concerned must be seen to be taking action, not just say they are going to take action, but be seen to be taking action with specific actions that are measurable and and definable. If we just say yes, we're going to do something about it, but they don't actually do anything, then that is not acceptable. So there has to be some plan that is verifiable by the committee that shows that they are doing things with timelines for accomplishing those things.
Yes. So I think we're trying to find the idea is understood. I think the question is phrasing it such that it doesn't create any ambiguity.
Chair, would 13, Margo is putting something together quickly, Chair.
Okay.
Okay, there is a proposal put together by Margot for the committee to consider whether that addresses the issues that were raised, Chair.
Yes, honorable members, here is the proposal before you. Can we get comments?
Mr. Chance indicated he's okay.
Okay. Okay, I take it that members are agreed to this. So
Yeah,
may
no further hands, Chair.
proceed.
The committee welcomed the progress in finalizing the forensic investigation into capital projects feasibility program. It urged the DTIC to implement remedial and disciplinary measures where necessary and to strengthen internal controls to protect the integrity of the incentive program.
Do we have there is no hand, we may proceed.
The committee noted the criteria used by the Auditor General in selecting SEZs and industrial parks for site visits. However, it emphasized the need for a more balanced and representative selection that reflects both successes and challenges.
There is no hand.
The committee welcomed the progress towards South Africa's removal from the Financial Action Task Force grey list, as it would restore investor confidence and reduce government's cost of borrowing.
There is no hand.
The committee noted the relatively low cross-fixed capital formation, which was on average 14% of GDP compared to the global benchmark of 20%, which curtails economic growth, productivity, and job creation. It welcomed the collaboration between the DTIC and Infrastructure South Africa in terms of energy infrastructure. However, it stressed the need for greater interministerial collaboration and cooperation to advance investment in public infrastructure.
There is no hands. Proceed.
In terms of private sector investment, the committee emphasized the importance of finalizing the new industrial policy to create a stable, predictable, and enabling policy environment that boosts investor confidence. Therefore, it urged the DTIC to conclude the development of this policy timeously. Margaret, did we combine the two?
We didn't combine them. They were very similar, though.
Yeah. Chair, just to continue, I'll read the Democratic Alliance. The committee highlighted the need for the department and its entities to finalize its industrial policy and have it approved by Cabinet. The delay in finalizing policy is causing uncertainty across the economic ministerial cluster, as well as the business community, which are seeking clear signals in the direction of travel for the department vision for how South Africa can revive its industrial base and stimulate new economic high growth sectors. Yeah, it's similar to the ANC's proposal. Chair, for the committees to consideration. Can't we combine it?
Yeah. Are there any comments, members, about probably combining it? I think.
Chair.
Yes, Honorable Musikatsi.
Yes, Chair. If it's similar to each other, I don't see a problem in combining the two statements.
Yeah, I think the first sentence, if I may, the first sentence is similar. I think the second sentence of the DA can move in after the end of the first sentence there. And then that concludes, and then I think then it captures the essence of both, Chair.
Yes.
If that will be in order, Chair.
Honorable members, is that in order? Honorable Chance seconds. Honorable Mkutu seconds as well, so we can proceed.
The committee welcomed the improved revision of the Transformation Fund concept document. It encourages the DTIC, in collaboration with National Treasury, to finalize the implementation model and sustainable funding option to operationalize the Transformation Fund, as it would play a critical role in industrial participation and advancing transformation objectives, particularly Black management and ownership. Then we have the Democratic Alliance proposal. The delay in implementing the transformation funds point to a lack of buy-in by the private sector, which through proposed contribution of 4% of turnover in the revised concept document is the major source of funding for the fund. This reflects a change of thinking by the department, which initially proposed that the companies would channel the 3% of NPAT earmarked for enterprise and supply development into the fund. This uncertainty, together with the fact that the ownership and governance structure of the funds are yet to be clarified, has contributed to the fund not yet being operational. The committee questioned the practicality surrounding management such a large fund, which is larger by a factor of 20 than the current annual disbursement by the National Empowerment Fund. The department's proposal to source additional funds from the Afrix Bank raises the potential risk of contingent liabilities on sovereign balance sheet due to the expected high impairment rate in the fund's loan book. Those are the two proposals by the ANC and the Democratic Alliance, which is similar, but also there's divergent views on that, Chair. And we thought it's best for the committee to guide us on how we put it together, if so decided, Chair.
If you just scroll up a bit, please, Margot, so we can look at the ANC's. Thank you. Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, you may go ahead.
I know that the DA's conclusion is quite detailed, but it seems to me that if we were to put the second sentence of the ANC's paragraph in as the first sentence of the DA's paragraph, and then continue with that paragraph 6, it would essentially achieve the objective of both paragraphs.
Honorable Shazo Webster.
Good morning, colleagues, and thank you, Chair. I just want to perhaps query that first line from the DA proposal. I think it's a little bit presumptuous. It would be presumptuous by us to make that statement, to say that the implementing points to a lack of buy-in by the private sector. I would reframe that or remove that part, but otherwise think it is quite detailed. Drawing that conclusion that it points to the lack of buy-in by the private sector, I think is presumptuous and is not fact-based.
Chair?
Can we?
Is Margot, Chair?
Yes, Margot.
Chair, I think one of our concerns with this proposal was that it brings in a lot of facts that are not necessarily in the main document and was not necessarily raised by the DTIC or the members during the engagement. So that may be a bit of a concern, particularly with the 4% of turnover, etc. To bring it into the conclusion without anything in the body.
Would Chair, through you, Chair,
You may, yes, Andre.
Can we expand this as a concluding remark, Chair, with the Democratic Alliance thingy, and capture the ANCs as not as part of the engagement, and the ANC's concluding remark as capturing the essence of the what's being said. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think you
Yeah,
may.
sorry, Chair, go ahead.
No, I was suggesting that he repeats so that we get what.
But I'm suggesting, Chair, that before the concluding remarks, we capture the issues that were raised by members, and they in this regard, because as Margie indicated, the substance of what is captured by the TA is not captured in the body of the report.
Okay. Honorable Chance.
Yes. Are you saying then, Andre, that we capture the essence of what is included in paragraph 6 and put it into the body of the report, and then use the paragraph 20 as the conclusion?
That's what I was proposing. I don't know, yeah, but I'm thinking, Chair, as a solution to what we.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, and I take.
We also be cognizant. Sorry, my apologies. That based on Ms. Schlager-Webster's thinking that the first line of 6 may be lost as part of that process as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue over that point.
No. Okay. It was committed to decide in Chair.
Honorable Schlager-Webster, is that a legacy hand or a new hand?
I think it's a legacy hand, Chair.
My apologies, it's a legacy hand.
Mr. Mkutu raised his hand, Chair.
Mkutu.
Thanks, Chair. No, I would want to support Honorable Webster and probably agree on the middle ground to take it to the body. But of course, ask what would then be the implications of having new facts in the body of the report that would not have been reflected on record. That for me, maybe we can just get guidance. And I'm saying effect in the credibility of the report. Because
yes, I hear what Mr. Mkutu's what Ms. Mkutu is saying is that as part of the discussion, it was never outlined as such. Although I may have proposed that, so therein lies the decision for the committee. If it's like Mark indicated, it's more factual in a sense, but it was never part of the discussion or engagement that allowed the DTIC or the deputy minister who was present at the time to respond to that. So although we will have it in the body, it may not present a dilemma for that. I would, Chair, if the position of that's the challenge, Chair.
Andre, can I just, so I believe this matter was mentioned within Mr. Chance's leading to the question, I believe, in terms of the 20%, the fact of 20 in relation to the NEF. So that can definitely go. I think we may not have it captured properly there, but we can maybe add that. And then this issue, we could raise this as a concern about the practicalities surrounding the managing of the fund as part of the conclusion then.
I don't know if this is Mr. Mkutu's concern, Chair.
I actually don't know. I think we need to find a way that addresses both issues and finds a common ground. Because the fundamental issue that Honorable Hlazo-Webster raised of the facts that are presented here, the argument is presented in a factual manner, whether those facts are not contestable, and what is the source of those facts for us to include them in the report. I think we need to try and find a paragraph that accommodates all views and reflects the discussions that have taken place.
Chair, may I propose, Chair, at the conclusion of this going us through, that we maybe see after, when we proceed with the presentation from the Parliamentary Legal Advisor, give us time maybe to look at that and present something for the committee to consider, Chair. Given the fact that the committee in principle agreed that we keep the ANC's thingy, but see how we capture the blue as part of the discussion, would that be in order, Chair?
I think, honorable members, that will be in order, subject to your guidance.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Let's.
We'll go, Chair,
Yeah.
to the 21. While the committee supports the broad strategy expressed by the DTIC, it was concerned that the global export strategy has not yet been formalized. Therefore, constraining South Africa's ability to optimize trade opportunities. It also welcomed the DTIC's efforts to expand export opportunities through diversification and to support increased resilience of South Africa's exports in dynamic global markets. No hands, Chair?
Yes. Yeah. Proceed.
The committee noted the ongoing negotiations regarding the US framework package and underscored the importance of securing favorable tariff reductions to strengthen South Africa's export competitiveness. It encouraged the DTIC to pursue a balanced approach that safeguards the national interest while strengthening bilateral trade relations with the US and advancing mutually beneficial market access outcomes.
There is no hand.
Go down, Margot. The committee noted the EU's proposed 50% duty on steel. It welcomed the DTIC's efforts to explore domestic relief measures to mitigate the impact of this duty on the domestic steel industry and to support the long-term sustainability and competitiveness of the industry.
I don't see a hand.
The committee was concerned by the slow progress in developing certain special economic zones, such as Nkomazi and Musina Mercado special economic zones, as well as whether the valuable proposition of these zones was still feasible. It welcomed the work that the DTIC was undertaking to re-evaluate certain special economic zones, as well as the collaboration with National Treasury and the World Bank to conduct an impact study on SEZ performances.
I don't see a hand.
The committee remained concerned about the ongoing delays in amending the Drugs and Drug Trafficking Act and other related legislation, as it impeded the implementation of the hemp and cannabis commercialization strategy. The committee welcomed the DTIC's commitment to advance a coherent regulatory and policy framework to unlock the industry's economic potential.
I don't see a hand.
In terms of the Spaza Shop Support Fund, the committee urged the DTIC, in collaboration with the relevant government departments and agencies, to resolve the registration and licensing challenges hindering the implementation of this fund.
I think we may proceed.
Given South Africa's unemployment crisis, the committee emphasized the DTIC's focus should shift from short-term job opportunities to decent, sustainable, long-term jobs that can contribute to meaningful economic transformation or long-term poverty alleviation.
I don't see a hand.
If we go, yeah. We got Margot. I think we're combining the two here, but I'll be reading in green. I'll read the two matters raised by the ANC and DA respectively. The committee noted delay in releasing the report on the evaluation of consolidating the DTIC's entities. This work was critical to determine the extent to which the entities could be rationalized in order to maximize the utilization of existing resources and strengthen coordination among the entities. The DA's proposal, the investigation by the TSU International into governance failures at SABS is long overdue and must be presented to the full committee as soon as possible. Members of the committee are continuing to receive emails from whistleblowers who are raising very serious issues that needs immediate attention of the SABS board and ministry. I think we try to combine those things. I don't know if it's combined as the committee.
Andre, just a clarification. So the first matter is in relation to the rationalization of the entities. The second matter is in relation to the investigation. So it's just a rewording of the DA's proposal, the green.
Come again, Margot.
Sorry, Chair. So the first matter, the ANC's one here, is in relation to the rationalization of entities, that project of the DTIC. The second matter, which the DA's raised, is about the forensic investigation.
Recording stopped.
By the at
Recording
the
in
SABS.
progress.
So the screen is a sort of a reworking of that one, of the blue.
Honorable Chance.
Yes, thank you. Margot, I think that the issue here is that the body of the report does not make any mention of the TSU International investigation. So I think that there are two things here. The two are very different. The consolidation of the entities and the TSU investigation are completely different points. There need to be two separate conclusions, but to reflect the body of the report needs to also include a paragraph on the investigation. Do you see what I'm saying? They can't be confused. They're two separate points.
Yes, Mr. Jones. We have spoken to the department, and we've just also confirmed that we should separate them. So we'll have a 6.44 focusing on rationalization of entities, right, and a 6.45 focusing on the investigation.
Right. I'm happy with that.
Okay.
And then fine, the green, your paragraph, paragraph 7 is fine. I'm happy with that.
Okay, there is no other hand, and so we may proceed.
My apologies. Yes. This is the last proposal. Can you hear me, Chair? Chair, can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the last proposal from the Democratic Alliance. The committee urges the department and its entities to measure tangible economic outcomes such as GDP growth, job creation, industrial productivity, innovation, business creation, and longitudinal growth and investor confidence. There is a tendency in government to measure inputs and activities and to translate these into KPIs, but these on their own provide little information on the impact. It's a proposal by the Democratic Alliance, Chair.
There is no hand. Yeah, it seems like a straightforward proposal. We may.
if I may,
Yes.
Chair.
Yes,
That
you may.
concludes the submissions both by the ANC and the Democratic Alliance. Chair, may I propose, Chair, before we proceed with the next presentation, Chair, and before the committee take a position on the Chair, on the matter, that you allow us quickly to look at those last points that we need to combine and present that to the committee before we consider the report. Would that be in order, Chair?
Yes.
We break
Now,
for 15 minutes, Chair, or?
but in so doing, do we wait for you or do we go to the next items and then you will come back once you've considered the issues that?
I would propose that we break for 15 minutes, Chair, because we need to be part of that conversation because there may be issues arising from a procedural nature and not a legal nature that we may need to respond to, Chair. So we won't be able to be out of that presentation.
As we welcome the Honorable Colin.
My apologies, I'm traveling and the meeting coincided with the exact time of the meeting. I apologize, but I knew that there's capable leadership in the committee.
Yeah.
It's understood.
I think, Chair, as you proposed, Chair, I think we need to have a break, Chair, because we need to be part of that presentation of the.
So we should be back at 11:26.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Members must not log out. Just go make tea. Make more tea.
Thanks, Chair.
Andre, are we able to continue?
Correct, Chair. We are able to present to the committee. I think Margot will take us through, Chair, and thereafter the committee needs to move for adoption if that would be in order, Chair.
Okay. Margot.
Chair, so we've just expanded on what's in the discussion section under 6.23. So there was a reference to the viability of a centralized funding model that was questioned, given the details. So we've added and the NEF's capacity to disburse such a quantum of financing, as it was substantially larger than the current annual disbursements of the DTIC and the NEF. And then in terms of the question, I've just reworded it to read: the committee inquired whether the DTIC should reconsider whether a centralized transformation fund should be established and should rather prioritize the governance and data-driven monitoring of existing funding streams.
Show the connection between Mr. Chance's input and that, Margot.
So in terms of the input, because the discussion about the turnover wasn't necessarily part of our engagement, this matter was raised by Mr. Chance. So that's what we've now tried to just make a bit more explicit. And then the last matter was a matter that was discussed when we looked at the establishment of the Afrix Bank, that agreement. So it wasn't necessarily discussed inside the context of this meeting.
Honorable members, herewith presented is the proposed
Mr. Chance raises an issue.
Yeah, the Afrix Bank issue was not discussed at this meeting. You're correct. It was discussed at the previous meeting, well, the meeting where they presented the bank. So if you feel that procedurally it should not be included in here, but I think it was discussed at previous meetings of the committee. And obviously what we're doing is we're reflecting on the whole year's activities. So I think that it can be justifiably retained. But that is my view. I'm not sure if anybody else made the point in the meetings that we may end up borrowing money from this bank and not being able to pay it back because of impairments in the fund.
Chair, Mr. Messina raises his hand, Chair.
Oh, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. I think in terms of the proposal, the fund, they've emphasized that they're going to aggregate it and create like almost an independent institution that is going to manage it. And I see the proposal here is like God, we are second guessing that particular proposal. I'm sorry that I'm coming a bit late, but I'd read all the recommendations that have been made. Because I think that's the point here. And then the African Bank was discussed by the portfolio where we confirmed the full membership. So maybe if I can just have a context, I'll also be able to contribute with regard to that. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, if you remember, we did confirm the membership of the fund, full membership, and the DA voted in favor of that. But we also questioned the sense of borrowing money from the fund to fund the transformation. Borrowing money from the bank to fund the transformation fund because of the potential risk that would entail. But that was something that we raised in that meeting. Because if you recall, the department did specifically say that they wanted to use the Afrix Bank to partially fund the transformation fund up to the tune of almost $2 billion, which is a large amount of money. There was no clarity on how that money was going to be financed.
Honorable Chair.
Yeah, I think the issue, Honorable Chance, if we can remind each other, the context was that they think that actually they believe that by gaining full membership, we'll be able to fund larger projects, including empowerment projects. I don't think it was specifically the transformation fund, but it was
No,
more
it
on
was, Chair. It definitely was. You have to look at the presentation. Definitely included a provision of 2 billion.
Honorable
2
Chance.
billion rand.
Honorable
Sorry.
Chance.
Okay, administration, can you assist us? Because I thought I read it in the context of transformation in general, not of the fund specifically. If you can just go back to the record so that we can correct each other. I don't have a problem, Mr. Chance, if you and I'm not real. I'm just saying this is how I read at the point when we were discussing, but administration will help us to correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to find a way that we close this matter without getting too bogged down into the detail at the present moment, given the suggestion that we go back to the record of the discussion on Afreximbank, as well as the fact that we already are behind schedule in terms of adopting and publishing the BRRR. So my view is that we find a way of closing this neatly, aware that there are still ongoing issues, concerns, discussions about the funding of the transformation fund.
Chair, if I may, Chair?
Yes.
Chair, the issue that was raised is that this matter was discussed during the engagement when we considered the agreement, Chair, and it was never part of this discussion we had when we considered the annual report of the bill. I'm not going to comment on the merit and demerit of what was discussed, but I would just propose that because the matter was not raised and discussed as part of the process, I would suppose that we don't include it as part of the report. Nothing is wrong in what's being said, but it was never part of the discussion. Is never captured in the body of the document in itself, Chair. So I would propose that we don't include it, Chair, just from a procedural thing, Chair. Mr. Chance, Chair.
Mr. Chance?
Well, obviously, I would prefer that it is included in the body of the report, so that then we can make a reference to it in the conclusions.
Did you consider what Andre indicated, that it wasn't discussed as part of the annual report discussions?
Yes, that's correct, Chair. But this BRRR report is not just concerning the annual report, as I understand it. Maybe I'm mistaken, but you know, it's looking at it's future budgeting. It's a budget review and recommendation report. It's about the previous 18 months plus the future budgeting plans for the department. So that's really a flag that I'm wanting to raise around a potential risk that the department may need to rethink.
Honorable Chair.
Yeah, I think let's take the advice that we are given and then note that in the next round, because this issue would have been discussed outside of the framework from what we are being advised, and then we include it at that particular point. But for now, we exclude it because it's not in the body of the report. Thank you.
Can we get other views from other members?
Chair.
No, Chair.
Mr. Mkutu, Chair, Ms. Mosikatsi.
Mr. Mkutu, then Ms. Mosikatsi.
No, Chair, I would say let's probably take the advice from the committee secretary. And my sense is that, Chair, I agree with the Chair, not you, Colin, the original Chair. on the way forward. Thanks, Chair.
Ms. Musigati?
Thank you, Chair. I was also agreeing to what the Chair is saying, so I was actually supporting the proposal of the Chairperson.
Honorable Chance, is the legacy?
Yeah, look, I mean, it wasn't discussed in the annual report discussion, that's true, but it was discussed when we discussed the Africa ban. But it needs to be flagged at some point, whether it's in this report or another report. I'm just reading now, on the 6th of October, South Africa seeks up to 3 billion rand Afrex backing for Black enterprise and to fund the transformation fund. So, you know, I'm not trying to put something in there that wasn't discussed by the committee.
Can we agree that we don't include it in this report? I don't know how we can flag it, but in the next reports we can then include it and have a discussion on it.
I'm happy with that.
Andre, I suppose that is possible.
That's no, Chair. When the next quarterly report from DTIC comes, Chair, it can be part of the discussion, Chair.
Okay. Okay. I think we are fine now with that.
Chair, we just want to show the split between the two 6.44 and 6.5, Chair. Thereafter, we can proceed with adopting, Chair. If Margot can take us through that, Chair, quickly.
So, Chair, as indicated previously, we split the rationalization of entities. So this one focuses on the report evaluating that. And then the second matter would be the forensic investigation. We've just indicated that there have also been delays in releasing that report. The DTIC's request that we just, instead of using TSU International, we use TSU Investigations, which is how they captured it on their side, on the forensic investigation at the SABS. And then the response is still that the DG confirmed that some of the forensic investigation reports have been completed and are currently undergoing an internal review, if that's in order.
Honorable Chair.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Maybe let's also call for the report to be presented within a specific period so that we are much more clearer, so that we close on.
Can I make a suggestion, Chair?
Mr.
I'd
Chance?
like to make a suggestion. Sorry. Bearing in mind that the SABS has not presented its annual report because its accounts haven't been finalized, I suggest that we ask them to present the TSU International or investigation report at the same time as presenting their annual report and financial statements.
Okay.
Which they promised to have with us by the end of January. So that means that we could potentially get them to come and present in February.
That could be part of the internal process, Chair, of committee programming, Chair, that we can address, Chair.
Okay. Okay, let's continue.
Chair, now we have submitted the considerations and the input from the ANC and the Democratic Alliance. Committee has deliberated thereon, Chair. We now submit you need to submit the full report with the concluding remarks for consideration and adoption by the committee, Chair.
Also, yes. So, are you saying we have to present the full?
We distributed the full report to members, Chair, and members have inputted in terms of the concluding remarks. Now we have considered the concluding remarks. Would be the full report will be part of that consideration, Chair. So we need to move for adoption of the BRRR report, Chair.
Can we have a mover for the adoption of the report?
Chairperson,
Yes, Honorable Musikati.
I move for the adoption of the report.
Thank you. There is a mover for the adoption of the report. Can we have a seconder?
I second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Julie. At least the one moment when your network does work.
Chair, just a question if there's any objections or any abstentions, Chair.
Are there any objections or abstentions?
No hands, Chair.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The report is duly adopted. We proceed then to the next item, which is the
Committee bill process, Chair.
yes.
Chair, if I may, Chair, the Parliamentary Legal Services Officers will be presented by Ms. Casson, Chair. She will make the presentation on the process regarding the committee bill through you, Chair. Thanks.
Okay. Ms. Casson.
Good morning, Chairperson, honourable members and stakeholders. As Andre introduced, I'm Daksha Casson. I'm a legal advisor from the Constitutional and Legal Services Offices here at Parliament, and I was requested to present to this committee the process that a committee bill entails and the estimate timeframes that might apply. Next slide, please. Chair, before I go into what a committee bill process entails, I'd just like to highlight some of the pertinent constitutional sections which allow for a committee to prepare and initiate legislation. The first section, as we know, is section 43 and 44, which states that the National Legislative Authority is vested in Parliament. Section 55(1)(b) then states that the Assembly, in exercising this legislative power, may initiate or prepare legislation. And this is then done by committees, which are the extension of the House. Then finally, section 73, subsection 2, empowers committees of the Assembly to introduce committee bills in the Assembly. I also just want to touch on what the 2009 independent panel assessment of Parliament stated. It stated that the power of the Assembly, through its committees, to initiate legislation is a very powerful tool to address policy issues and also assert its independence as a legislature. In terms of Parliament's draft strategic plan as well, Parliament identified impactful lawmaking as one of its outcomes by, amongst others, implementing measures to enhance the drafting capacity of Parliament. In terms of this framework, then, committees are therefore empowered to initiate and prepare legislation, which we refer to as committee bills. Next slide, please. The panel assessment at the time also criticized Parliament for a poor record in introducing legislation. And in response to such criticism, Parliament then created a dedicated legislative drafting unit within our office since 2013, and I have then been part of that unit since 2013. Since the establishment of this unit, 17 committee bills were developed, 12 of which were then passed by Parliament. Now, even though the committees are empowered to initiate legislation, we need to just take the following into account, that it's not always possible to develop a committee bill. And when considering whether to do a committee bill or to allow the executive to introduce its bill, the following factors would favor the continued monitoring of an executive bill as opposed to developing a committee bill. Firstly, if the bill requires extensive policy development, or if it's really contentious, or it's a bill which requires subject matter expertise, which may be found in the department and in all likelihood not within Parliament, then those factors would follow the development of an executive bill. However, when considering to do a committee bill, the following factors would then favour the drafting of a committee bill. Firstly, the bill is likely technical in nature, with little or minimal policy development requiring. Or, for example, the Constitutional Court, when declaring certain sections of a statute as unconstitutional, has in its judgment also provided a read-in clause that could be utilized as is into a committee bill. Or the bill will deal with a non-contentious matter with little or no policy development, or the bill will only deal with issues and content affecting Parliament or provincial legislatures. For example, the Powers and Privileges Bill, and now more recently, a Parliamentary Villages Bill. Thank you. Next slide. Chair, what this slide presents is a very brief overview of what a committee bill process entails. The slides later on in my presentation will in detail explain the applicable rules of the National Assembly that will apply to a committee bill, as well as estimate timeframes that would apply for any given stage. Now, in the first house, what is really crucial before a committee bill is embarked upon is a policy. In other words, there must be a policy document which is quite comprehensive that will inform what the draft bill will entail. Once the policy is developed, the committee must then seek permission from the House to develop legislation. Now, this request for permission can also be in reverse. For example, a motion can already be tabled requesting the House to agree that a bill must be developed. The House then adopts the resolution and then instructs the committee to develop a bill. The next stage then is when permission is granted, the draft bill must then be prepared within the committee. And in this regard, our office can assist with the drafting of the legislation. Once the bill is drafted by the committee, the bill must then be advertised, as well as the notice of intention to introduce that bill must be advertised together with a call for comment in the Government Gazette. Following the call for comment, a consultation process may follow with public hearings as well as inputs from the department. As a result of those deliberations, the committee may consider further amendments, which may then also result in further consultations. And once the bill is finalized, the bill is then adopted, reported on, certified, and the JTM is once again consulted on the classification. And it's only at that stage that the bill is introduced into Parliament and immediately a second reading is held. Now, based on our experience, an estimate time in total has ranged from between 4 to 9 months in the first house for the development and passing of a committee bill, all dependent on how technical the bill may have been or how controversial the bill may have been, as well as how comprehensive a policy has been drafted. The bill then is referred to the second house, which then follows a legislative process in accordance with either its classification in terms of Section 74, 75, or 76 of the Constitution. There's then consideration in the second house, where the second house can propose amendments and resend it back to the first house, and after which, when the bill is finalized, it is then sent to the President for assent. Next slide, please. So what follows now on these slides are the rules that determine how a committee bill process will unfold. As I mentioned, the committee will need to seek permission from the House to develop a committee bill. This is in terms of NA Rule 273(1). And in order to do this, the committee must prepare a memorandum setting out the particulars and objects of the proposed bill, whether it has any financial implications. It must also contain the views of the executive on the proposed bill. And this is normally done after a policy is developed, ideally, because that then informs what this memo will entail. Now, we talk a lot about a policy, and I just quickly want to say, what is this policy document that we would envisage must be developed before a drafting of a bill? It's a document which outlines what the committee hopes to achieve. It discusses the regulatory object of the bill, the solutions proposed, and the mischief in the law that the bill seeks to address. Now, before any drafting can be done by our office, we require this policy document, as it will inform what the desired legislation might entail. Next slide, please. This slide then just this slide then in detail sets out the kind of questions that the policy document must answer. I mentioned earlier on that the policy must consider the regulatory object. In other words, the question to be asked is, what do we want to achieve? For example, we want to increase economic growth, decrease crime, increase effective support. And in answering this question, the following sub-questions need to be answered. Where, when, why, and how does the challenge arise? Why do we think that the development of a piece of legislation is a solution that's best suited? Once those questions are answered, we then need to reconsider the proposed solution, asking questions like, is legislation the most appropriate answer, or would there be something else more suitable? For example, raising awareness through workshops, allocating more funds, and so forth. And then it's very important for this document to identify the mischief in the law, where the gap is, because this then will inform whether any pieces of legislation must be amended, how many pieces of legislation, whether the bill should be an amendment bill or a standalone bill. So these are crucial questions that one would need to determine upfront before the legislation is drafted. Moving on to the next slide. So, Chairperson, once the committee tables its memo, the Speaker will then table that memo, and the Assembly may give permission to proceed with the committee bill. That permission may be with or without conditions. The House may also then refuse the request or refer it back to the committee. But once permission is granted, in terms of NA Rule 274, the committee must then prepare its draft bill. This is where I said our office can then assist with it. During the development of the bill, this is very important. Further research and policy development may also occur depending on discussions and deliberations in the committee. At the same time, when one draft of the committee bill is prepared, the committee needs to consult the JTM for advice on the classification. Once a draft is also prepared, a notice of intention to introduce a committee bill must be given in the Government Gazette, either with an explanatory summary of the bill or a copy of the draft bill being published. Next slide, please. Once a copy of the bill is published, the notice must also include an invitation asking interested persons and institutions to submit representations on the bill. These interested persons must be given at least 3 weeks to comment on the draft bill. And what's also very important here is that the relevant department or organ of state must be given sufficient opportunity to make submissions to the committee. The committee must then also report to the House that it has published its draft bill. Any written comments received must be considered, and in terms of public participation processes, it is required that Parliament provides meaningful opportunities for the public to engage in the lawmaking process. Next slide, please. So following its deliberations and the receipt of submissions, the committee may then make further amendments to its draft bill. And there's a possibility that these further consultations will result in other new amendments being made to the bill. And if so, then those amendments must again be published for comment if they are of a material nature. At that point again, once the bill is near finalization, the committee must again consult the JTM for advice on the classification. And once the bill is adopted by the committee as its final draft, this bill is then certified by the Chief Parliamentary Legal Advisor or a Parliamentary Legal Advisor designated by him or her. And this certification will certify that the bill is properly drafted in terms of existing legislation and as well in terms of drafting conventions. Upon that, the committee then introduces its bill by submitting a copy thereof and a supporting memo to the Speaker. And again, the JTM will then publish its classification of that final bill when it is introduced. So it's only at this point that the bill is introduced into Parliament. Sorry, Chair, I forgot to mention earlier that the last column on each of these slides gives an estimate of the time period that might be needed for any of the stages that I've mentioned. Moving on to the next slide. Chair, this slide just says that a committee may make further amendments to its bill, and these amendments could flow from public involvement, it could flow from deliberations in the committee, oversight exercises done by the committee, responses from the department to questions or issues raised by the public, as well as any advice that may be forthcoming from our officers that arise as a result of public submissions that were received. Again, here I just want to stress that there may be a need for further consultation, especially where these amendments that are made by the committee at this stage are material in nature, deal with new issues that the public may not have been aware of when the bill was initially published. Next slide. Chair, as I mentioned before, when the bill is introduced, the bill does not have a first reading. Instead, it's placed on the order paper for a second reading, and at least 3 working days must elapse once the bill is introduced before the second reading takes place. In a nutshell here, we say that an estimate time in total for any committee bill, depending on the nature of the bill, the issues involved, how lengthy the bill is, on average has taken between 4 to 9 months after the policy, after a policy has been confirmed. And there, the following 4 bullets just basically give you an idea of the time needed for each of those stages that will emanate as the committee bill unfolds. Finally, on my last slide, Chair, once the bill is introduced, it's transmitted to the second house. In the second house, the committee will undertake its processes depending on whether it's a 75 bill or a 76 bill. It will then report to the second house, and the normal consideration processes in the second house take place. If there are no proposed amendments that the second house wishes for the first house to consider, at this stage, then the bill will also be adopted by the NCOP and sent to the President for assent. Thank you so much.
Just a moment. Honorable members, Honorable Sophia.
Thank you, Chair. My question in terms of the development of a bill from the committee side, I just want to check if, because I think we do have legislation that is responsible for governing the gambling board. I'm just checking if the legislation that we are having is not speaking to what we want to see. Is it not possible for us to actually review that legislation that is in place and possibly amend some of the areas and include what we want to see in the legislation instead of starting again developing a new bill that will take time? And already we have a lot of work that we need to do, especially in terms of implementation. So will it not take our time, instead of ensuring that our policy is being implemented and then we develop another policy? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Masina.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. I think it's very clear from the presentation that it's a very cumbersome, difficult process, which really I think we can save ourselves as a committee, and then instead look into the available legislation and sit down to propose some of the changes, because we were dependent on this system, on this presentation to inform us about the possibility of the committee bill. So as things stand, if I heard very well from legal, it's a very difficult process which really will take some of the time we do not have as a committee in terms of the work we do. Having said that, I know that the issue that was being raised is very critical. It affects our people, and we really need to make sure that we either look into the process, the mediation process, and see if we can effect in some changes, because that is provided for, or alternatively activate the 2018 bill that was never implemented. That would be my proposal. Thank you.
Honorable Chance.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's quite correct that this is an issue of big public importance, as was evident on Friday when we debated Honourable Garner's motion. I would urge members to read the memorandum that I think Andre circulated last week, the memorandum that I have written, which proposes a way forward on this matter. And we have a situation where there are some significant gaps in the legislation. So starting with the 2008 Amendment Act, which intended to legalize interactive gambling or online gambling, was never implemented. And that led to the policy review of 2009, which then recommended that interactive gambling not be legalized. And so we have that legislative hole, which means that there is no protection for individuals that are gambling currently on unregulated sites. The 2018 bill doesn't deal at all with online gambling. What it does do is introduce a centralized management system for the National Gambling Board to keep a metric of all the gambling statistics that are currently already being maintained by the provinces. It also originally proposed to replace the Gambling Board with a regulator, but that was then subsequently withdrawn in the mediation committee. And then we have the Private Members Bill, which I haven't tabled the bill yet, but it was the Parliament gazetted my intention to table the bill with the bill was published, and the intention to publish it was, or the intention to introduce it was published in October last year, and we received over 20 submissions, very detailed submissions, which would be very valuable for the committee if it was decided that what we need to do is to consolidate the current legislation and ensure that the gaps in the regulatory environment are filled. And what I'm requesting is that we receive advice from the Parliamentary Legal Services. Maybe they can have a look at the memorandum that we produced and consider the options. Because at the moment we have a very fragmented regulatory environment where there's no consistency, there's no norms and standards. We have unregulated gambling consuming vast amounts of money. And it seems to me also that the department has got no capacity themselves. There's been no indication from them that they intend to deal with this problem, which is why I'm requesting that the committee takes the initiative and leads this process. Any piece of legislation is cumbersome, Chair, Honourable Messina. There's no doubt about that. But it'll take just as long for the department, if not longer, to process this legislation as it would the committee. Bearing in mind that a lot of work has already been done. We've done a lot of the drafting already in the remote gambling bill. It's not perfect, but it's at least it's a draft already bill. It's a bill that has already been drafted. It's also received public submissions. So a lot of the work has already been done, and I think that can significantly compress the timescale. But I don't think we have time to lose here. I mean, by the end of next year, we'll probably find 100 billion rand has been spent on gambling, and we have a really serious epidemic of addiction. And I think it's important that the committee prioritizes its time. We do have a lot on our plate. But this is a serious problem for this country that if we don't deal with it soon, is going to get out of hand. So I would suggest that the committee takes this very seriously and prioritizes it for the next 12 months of our business, certainly leading into 2026.
I'm waiting. Are there any other hands?
Maybe I could ask a question of Ms. Kassan, seeing as she's on the call already or now, that maybe what I could request is that she has a look at the memorandum that I've written and comments on it, not now, obviously, but comments on the practicalities of it in terms of what she's presented today as regards the process. Because it is complicated by the fact that there are various pieces of legislation which are sitting hanging and not being implemented, both the 2018 and the 28 bill. And I'd request that Ms. Kassan does that and then comes back to us with either a written response, that would probably be easiest, that then the committee could consider in a future meeting.
Thank you, Honorable Hlazo Webster.
Thank you very much, Chair. I support the proposal by our Chan in terms of prioritizing this particular matter. What I would want to ask, and maybe what I would want for us to establish while we are engaging on this issue, is what are the ways in which we as a committee can, if the proposal is for the memo to then be sent for review in some kind of way, what are the mechanisms that we can use as a committee to then raise other issues with respect to this? Because I understand and appreciate the work that has happened and that has been done by Honorable Chance. But I think there might be other aspects that others on the committee wish to add that either are not covered at all or not sufficiently covered, or just other aspects that we wish to be prioritized in some way. So the question would be, are we able to then in this meeting agree on the mechanisms upon which we can raise various other issues that we would want to see covered in a bill of the sort, if it then is a committee bill?
Thank you. Are there any other?
There's no further hands, Chair. I don't know if I may say something. Chair?
Yes.
I don't know. If I may, Chair.
Yes.
I think what we possibly could also do, Chair, is maybe the document that was distributed by Mr. Chance, we can, as part of the discovery process or decision-making process, Chair, maybe ask the DTIC to brief the committee on the issues that Mr. Chance may have raised in his document, Chair, and ask him to brief the committee on that, and also maybe they can propose a way forward in that regard, Chair. I'm just putting that up as a possible way forward, Chair, that DTIC brief the committee on the issues that were raised by Mr. Chance. They provide a possible proposals on how to address Mr. Chance's concern, and thereafter the committee may be in a better position to make a decision whether to develop a committee bill or something else, Chair. Mr. Chance, Chair, raise his hand.
Thank you, Andre. I support that. Sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, I support that proposal from Andre, but I would also reiterate my request that Parliamentary Legal Services also be given an opportunity to review the memorandum and also be part of that meeting where they can comment on its viability as opposed to the executive taking control of this process.
Okay. I think we can conclude therefore on that note that we will request a briefing by DTIC, and that the Parliamentary Legal Services be also invited to comment on the memorandum submitted. Okay, thank you, honorable members. That concludes then our discussion on this matter. Can we go to the minutes?
Thank you, Chair. Margo will flag the minutes, Chair. Chair, we have the minutes of the 10th of June, Chair. I'll take the members through that. We had a briefing by the DTIC on the fourth quarter financial and non-financial performance, also on trade relations and ongoing negotiations, and a briefing on the protocols on women, youth in trade, as well as competition, to agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area. Chair, we had Mr. Gigaba, Mr. Messina, Mr. Katsi, the full DA delegation, as well as the MK delegation, Mr. Langa, and apologies from Ms. Siati, who was still a member at that time, Chair. We go down, the point 2 is to deal with the briefing. We adopted that report already, Chair. Then we received a briefing by the Ambassador, Mlumbi Peter, on trade relations. That matter has also been reported on in the House as well. No, this is the fourth one, Chair, the protocols on women, youth in trade, as well as on competition, to the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area. And then the committee point C captured the engagement on these matters, Chair. Can we go down, Margo? And the meeting adjourned at 1:05 until the 17th of June, Chair. Thank you. We need a move in a second, Chair.
Yes. Do we have a mover for the adoption of these minutes or any corrections? Honorable Sophia.
Thank you, Chairperson. I move for the adoption of the minutes.
There is a mover for the adoption of the minutes. Do we have a seconder?
I second, Chair. Honorable Mzuli, I second.
Honorable Mzuli seconds. Can we move to the next minute?
Okay, the next minute is dated 17th of June, Chair. We had an engagement by the briefing by the DTIC on changes to its budget to its APP, and also we had the formal consideration of the protocol on the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area on women and youth in trade, as well in competition. We had Mr. Igaba at the time, Mr. Igaba still, I will have to double check if it's not doctor at that time already, Ms. Motsikatsi, Mr. Chance, Mr. Mdluli, Mr. Gal, Mr. Misizani was still a member of the committee, Mr. Tambu. We had apologies from Mr. Thrink, Mr. Langa, and Mr. Nshingila. Point 2 captures the briefing and the report that was tabled in that regard. And we formally consider the protocol as well, Chair, which is captured there. And we consider outstanding minutes, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. It was a straightforward meeting. Do we have a mover for the adoption of the minutes and a seconder?
Chairperson,
Mokgekatsi, Chair.
I so move for the adoption of these minutes as a pre-reflection.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
So I second, Chair.
Thank you. The next set.
The next set on the 24th of June, we had engagement with the DTIC and the National Lotteries Commission regarding the process toward the National Lottery Operator License, Chair. We had a full complement of the African National Congress, the Democratic Alliance, Mr. Gama of MK, Mr. Tambo, and Mr. Langa, Mr. Thring, and Ms. Schlauser Webster. We had apologies of Mr. Msizani and Mr. Nshingila. We were briefed by the Minister on the process, Chair. Point 2.2 captures the discussion that the members had on the matters regarding in relation to the issuing of the license. And we resolve, we adjourn at 1:02 until Wednesday, the 25th of June, 2025, Chair.
Do we have a mover for the adoption of these minutes?
I move, Chair.
Mr. Chance move, Chair.
Honorable Chance. And the seconder?
I second, Honorable Doctor, Chair, I second, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Langa.
Chair, we have minutes of the 25th of June, Chair.
Yes.
We had a brief formal consideration of our budget vote report, Chair. That was a straightforward meeting. We have a full complement of the ANC, DA, Nkonto Sizwe, Bosa. Apologies of Mr. Langa, Mr. Mzazani, Mr. Thring, Chair. We formally considered the budget vote report, Chair, and the draft conclusions that were submitted, Chair.
Okay. Do we have? Oh.
Yeah, I think that's basically just capturing everything. Just go down, right down, Morgan. We adjourn until Wednesday, the 16th of July, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for the, a mover, sorry, for that?
Mr. Kathy, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Msikati.
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder?
I second, Chair.
Mr. Chance, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chance. The next set.
The next set is the 16th of July, Chair. We had we formally considered the committee's annual accountability report. We had a briefing by the IDC on its annual strategic and annual performance plans. As well, we considered the committee's draft report on the fourth quarter performance for the 24-25 financial year. We had a full complement of the ANC present, Chair, as well as the Democratic Alliance, Mr. Gama from MK, and Mr. Thring from the ADC. Apologies, Mr. Schlauser Webster, Mr. Langa, Mr. Msizani, and Mr. Nshingila, Chair. Go down, Marlon. Point 2, where the committee considered the annual accountability report, which was adopted. We then had a briefing by the IDC on the strat plan and annual performance plan. Thereafter, we had a brief, we considered, I think, the the first draft of the DTIC's fourth quarter report, Chair. And we adjourn, Chair, until Thursday the 24th, Chair.
Okay, do we have a mover for the adoption of the minutes?
Chairperson, I so move for the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Musikati. Do we have a seconder?
I second, Chair.
Mr. Chan, second, Chair.
Mr. Chan seconds. Thank you.
I think that those are all minutes that we have for today, Chair.
Oh, okay. Honorable members, that brings to the end our meeting for today. I do not have long closing remarks. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Recording stopped.